Hello, in this set of lessons we're going to be using Scratch to create a game. We're going to use the online version of Scratch. If you haven't used this before, you're going to need to create an account. So you'll need to go to Join Scratch in the top corner here, and you'll need to create a name. I'm going to call mine this. Please make it something easy to remember for next time you log in. And you'll need to create a password. Again, write it down so that you don't forget. Try and have a mixture of letters and numbers and symbols if you can. Press next. It'll ask you which country you live in, so select United Kingdom if you live in the United Kingdom. Press next. Now I'm going to select a year which is similar to US students rather than my own birthday, just to show you what you'll get when you log in. So I'll go for 2007. I am male. On this screen, please put in your school email address or the email address of a parent, because to be able to save your work later on Scratch, you need to have replied to their email. It's called an account verification email. So you will be able to get in without doing that, but you won't be able to save work until your account has been verified. So please put in your school email address or parent email address, which is going to be something like a 2-digit number followed by your surname, first name, and then students at primaryacademy.co.uk or something like that. Okay, so it says we're now logged in and we can start exploring creating work. You won't be able to save your work online until you go to the email address that you put in to create the account and confirm your account. You will still be able to use it if you don't do that, but you won't be able to save any work, which is not what you want. You need to be able to save the work, so please go to the account and confirm the account, get started. Right, so rather complicated screen here, but what you want to do to start with is go up here to create. This lesson's been inspired directly by another video I've seen on YouTube, so just in case you've seen something like this before, I thought I'd credit that video. It's in the link at the bottom. But this is what we'll be able to do by the end of today's lesson. You're going to have it's going to be a shooter game. I've chosen to do a man with a little gun and he's shooting out bullets, but if you don't like the sound of that, you can change it to Cupid shooting out love hearts, or Robin Hood shooting out arrows, or a teddy bear shooting out kisses. Whatever suits you, you can change the game to be like that. So for example, instead of these little yellow bullets, you could be having like I said, love hearts coming out. Whatever you choose to do. Okay, so that by the end of today's lesson, this is what we want to be able to do. So I'll show you how that's done. When you get onto Scratch, you will be able to actually save your project, and you will know if you're able to save it because it will have a place up here for writing a title. So I'm going to call this Shooter Game version 1. Okay, so step 1 is to get rid of the default cat sprite. We don't want him, so we're going to click on the delete arrow there. We're then going to go to choose a sprite, and we're going to paint our own sprite. I can zoom in a little bit. This little grey circle with a cross in the middle is the center of your sprite. So when you draw it, you want to be centered around there. I'm going to have a basic circle as a top-down view, so I'm going to press the circle, the top-down view of a head I mean, and I'm not going to fill it with color. I'm going to have it unfilled, so I'm going to press that red line there to do an unfilled circle. Now, if I draw my circle up here, that is not centered on the center dot here, so I'm going to drag it across. So I've got my blue cross here, undo, make sure you've got the select button selected, drag it so that, right, so go to the corner there, drag it so that the center cross is on the center cross there. It's all nice and it snaps to that. so that it will you know that it's in the right place. Okay, I'm going to create some arms for our sprite. So I'm going to do a line coming from around here, coming forward, and here coming forward, and he's going to be holding a gun in front of him. It's going to bring that line down slightly so it's joined with the body. There we go. Now, so we're going to use, you can be more creative than this, but I'm just going to use a rectangle shape. I'm going to make it, I think I'll make it red. So I'm just going to draw a rectangle shape there. It's going to bring it slightly in. I don't want this black line around it. I want it to be solid color. So I'm going to select it again. Go to outline. Go to the dropper tool there. And what this lets me do is select which color I want. So I want the outline to be red. You'll see the circle lights up red. If I click it and click away, you can see the circle. The outline of the shape is now red. I'm going to give my character 2 eyes. So I'm going to do the paintbrush. I'm going to give him, let's go with green eyes. One there, one there. Could maybe do some pupils if I wanted to. If I to do the pupil, I'm going to make the brush size much smaller. Maybe not that small. Here you go. So that's our basic sprite. But I actually want to call him Hero, so I'm going to go to this box here and call him Hero. Okay, so we're now ready to do some code on the sprite. The first thing we're going to do is to code the sprite so that he can turn left and right on the spot. So we start by going to events, and you may remember that when we start any game, we want to start with this when the green arrow is clicked. It basically signifies the start of the game. Now, first of all, we want to make sure our sprite, our hero, is always in the very center of the screen. At the moment, he's slightly to the top right. So we're going to go to motion, and we're going to say go to 0, 0. Now 0, 0 is the very center of the screen, like on a 4-coordinate grid. So I test that out. Should work. He goes straight to the center. Now what I want to happen is when I press the right key on the keyboard, he's going to rotate to his right or clockwise. So let's find the control that says if, and then if where is it? The right key is pressed, then we want him to rotate to the right, or clockwise I should say. So we're going to bring in this motion, turn, and let's say 5 degrees clockwise. So let's test that out. If I press the green arrow, now if I press my right key, he's not actually moving. Now, the reason for that is the code executes, or the code reads itself all in one go from the very start, very quickly when you press the green arrow. It goes straight through it, and it doesn't stop and wait for you. If I hold down my right key and then press the green arrow, you can see one small movement. Each time I press the green arrow, one small movement. That's because the computer will check to see, when you press the green flag, it will check to see if anything is being pressed. It will go, well, no, it's not being pressed, so it won't bother turning, and then it will stop and it will have finished. What you want the computer to do is to continually be checking forever to see if the right arrow has been pressed. So I'm going to drag this if block out of the way, and we're going to find the control block that says forever, put it here. I'm going to drag this back in. Now what this will do is the code will be checking, it will always be checking to see if we're pressing the right arrow. Now you can see he's rotating nicely if I press the right button, the right arrow. If I press the left button, he does nothing because I haven't coded that yet. So I basically want the same code but for the left. So I'm going to right click here on the if, and I'm going to press duplicate, and it gives me another one. So I'm going to pop it underneath there. It needs to be inside the forever block. I need to change this to left, and I want to change this turn is just turning clockwise. I want to turn it to anti-clockwise, change that to 5. Let's test that. Yeah, now he goes in both directions as we wanted him to. So to make the bullet, go down to the choose a sprite button and go to paint. And my bullet is going to be rectangle shaped, and I'm going to choose it to be yellow. And zoom in just a little bit. Now I want it centered on that center point there, so draw it like that. Now it's appeared on the screen over here on the display. That looks slightly too large to me, so I'm just going to bring it in a little bit this way and this way, and I'm going to drag it over here so that I can see the blue cross in the center, so that I can make sure I bring it back in and it snaps exactly in the center. That looks about the right size, but I don't want a black outline, so I'm going to select it and I'm going to go to outline and use the selector tool, and there we go. Now make sure that you press save now as you go so that you don't lose anything. Okay, so going back to the code, I'm going to actually, before I do that, I'm going to change the sprite name to bullet. Now I'm going to do some code for the bullet. First of all, we don't want to be able to see any bullets at the very start of the game, so press events. When the green arrow is clicked, you need to make sure the bullet is hidden. Okay, so let's test that. There we go, bullet's hidden. Save now. Okay, so the way I want the game to work is when I press the space bar on the keyboard, a bullet is created. So I'm going to go to the hero and I'm going to say that if and the space key is pressed, then I want to basically fire a bullet. Now, the way the computer will do that is by creating a bullet or creating a clone of the bullet. So I need to find the create a clone. That's in control down the bottom here. Create a clone of, and then you go down to select bullet. So when we press the space button, it's going to create a clone of the bullet, and I don't want it to do it continually, otherwise I'll have too many bullets. So I'm going to tell it to, after it's created that clone, it must wait 0.2 seconds before it can do anything else. So I'm going to test that out and see what happens. So I press spacebar, nothing's happened. Now the reason nothing's happened is because we have not yet told the bullet to not be hidden. So I'm just going to save quickly. I'm going to go to the bullet and we're going to say, so you need to go down to, it's not actually in events this one, it's in controls. When I start as a clone, then you want to be shown. So we're going to go to looks. So when it starts as a clone, show it. So let's see what that actually does. So when I press the space bar, I am pressing space bar. We've got one bullet, but nothing else is happening. But there are several bullets there, but you can't see them because they're all stacking on top of each other. So that's doing, at this point, what we want it to do. But what we need to tell it to do now is to basically be in the same place that the our hero is, and to shoot forward, which is a little bit complicated. So that's what we'll do next. So first of all, we want the bullet to go to where the hero is. So we're going to say motion go to where the hero is. Now let's test that out and see what happens. If I press spacebar, it's right on the hero. Next I wanted to make sure it's pointing in the right direction, because it's not actually pointing in the direction of the gun. So we need to say point in direction, Now the next bit is, if at the moment it says 90, and I could change that number to whatever I wanted. Let's say I could change it to 120, or in fact it gives you the dial here. And we just test that out. Again, that's fine, but it doesn't really do what we want it to do because we're not pointing in that direction. So we need to go down to, there's a, where is it? This one here. Now, in sensing, drag this block up into here. And what we can do there is say, I want you to point in the direction, or I want the bullet to point in the direction. So you change that to hero, and this to direction. So what that's now saying is I want the bullet to point in the direction of the hero's direction, if that makes sense. So let's try that out. So every time I press stop there, it deletes the bullet. Go now. There you go. You can see now that that bullet is pointing in the direction that the gun is. If I rotate it a bit, there's another one. It's not moving yet, but it's doing what we expect it to do. So now we want the bullet to move. So we're going to want it to move a few steps until it hits the edge of the... So continually taking steps until it hits the edge of the screen. So we're going to say, I want you to repeat something, to repeat moving until you hit the edge of the screen. So it's going to need to, I need to find the it needs to sense for the edge of the screen. So it will be touching, where is it? Touching the edge. So what do we want to do until it's touching the edge? We want it to move. So we need to find move. So let's say move 10 steps. So what this block of code here is doing is it's saying, I want you to move 10 steps until you're touching the edge of the screen. Okay, so let's try that out. So if I point the gun in a direction, press spacebar, there you go. So the bullet keeps moving until it touches the edge of the screen. If I change this number, what effect is that going to have? So 5, it goes slower basically. And if you wanted it to go quicker, you can make the number bigger. Oops. Okay, so he's shooting out and the bullet's going quite quickly. If I wanted him to shoot bullets, the bullets are going quickly, but if I wanted him to shoot them more quickly, I could go back to the hero and I could say, change this number of 0.2 and I could change it to 0.1, and that would then allow me to shoot bullets even quicker if I wanted to. Okay, so that is step 1 of our game. And we'll stop it there for now. Please make sure you press save now. Please remember your username and your login.